Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank on WCCS. Our interview at this time presented by Marcus & Mack, voted Best Personal Injury Law Firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Evergreen Conservancy is getting ready to have another program, this time out at Blue Spruce Lodge, and it has to deal with climate change. And we're talking today with Dr. Jonathan Warnock, who is going to give the presentation. Also joining us in studio on Indiana in the Morning are Allison Smith and Bob Lankard, both with the Conservancy. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Doing all right.
All right. So let's get started. First off, we'll talk a little bit more about the program in just a little bit. But Dr. Warnock, how did you get interested in environmental science to begin with?
Oh gosh, I grew up way out in the suburbs of Chicago, surrounded by cornfields and marshes and forests. And as the suburban sprawl sort of consumed all of that natural area, we saw the changes around us, how everything was sort of reducing, fewer birds, fewer toads, fewer frogs. And over the course of my young life, it just became pretty significant to me to see all those changes.
All right. You've done a lot of presentations for the Conservancy over the years, I think, right?
Yeah, I tend to keep busy. I like to be able to talk to the public and get out there when I can.
All right. We'll talk more about some of the details coming up. Allison, if you want to step a little closer to the microphone. First off, how long have you been with the Conservancy now?
I started with the Conservancy in August. I'm their AmeriCorps member for this year.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great to hear. Now, what do you do as an AmeriCorps member with the Conservancy?
Yeah, with the Conservancy, I work a lot with environmental education, so educating Cub Scout groups and even high school groups that come out to our Sonoma Wetlands Environmental Education Center. We'll educate there, and I get to work with a lot with water quality data. We have some data loggers in the streams throughout the county, so I get to upload that data for the public to use.
That's actually some pretty interesting information. Let's move the mic over to Mr. Bob Lankard. I call him Mr. Bob Lankard because that goes back to my scouting days a little bit there. But Bob, talk about what you get to do for the Conservancy.
Well, I'm a board member there, and I was one of the founding members of Evergreen Conservancy. And I'm wanting the listeners to mark their calendar for Saturday, August the 10th. I'm talking about artists and would-be artists, and we're going to be having an event there where people will be able to look at nature and use iron oxide that's produced at Sonoma to paint pictures of fall foliage.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool. Let's go ahead now and talk about the big talk that's coming up on, I believe it's the 26th, Jonathan, right?
Yeah, Friday the 26th.
And this is climate change, about what the average person knows and what the average person needs to know. So obviously, this has been a hot topic issue over the past few years. I mean, because we've been seeing some pretty radical weather changes. I mean, I think we just experienced one of them with the flooding and the big amounts of water that we've had over the past few weeks. But talk about it in that regard. I mean, the fact that this has become a hot button topic.
As we've gotten, through the years and seen these changes accumulate, we really have gotten to the point where we see these events on a very regular basis. We can see massive fires in California or huge flooding across the mid-Atlantic or big changes in other countries as well. And so seeing these really intense events happen more and more frequently, this stuff gets into the public eye more often, and we really start to focus on what can we do to prevent these catastrophes, these big natural disasters from happening.
What are some of the other things that people might notice when it comes to climate change other than weather changes?
Well, you might notice things like seeing fewer birds and bees around. You might notice that it feels like summers are longer. We sort of get these warmer days earlier in the spring and pushing later into the fall. You might notice trees leafing out, flowers coming out of the ground. You can certainly plant your crops earlier than you used to be able to.
Yeah.
We've got some stuff going in the ground right now, actually. So
wow.
Lots of changes all in the world around us.
Already. And what do you grow, by the way?
Oh, golly, everything we can. We try to grow all of our own produce, so if it's a vegetable, you name it, we're probably trying.
My mom and dad have a backyard garden. That's why I asked. They always grow peppers and tomatoes and things like that, and usually that starts around Memorial Day for them. But let's talk about preparing one of these. You obviously put a lot of research into this. How much time do you usually dedicate to putting together one of these talks?
Well, I like to take my time and be thoughtful about it. Thankfully, I've done a few of these, so I have some material to work with, but it's really important to be able to communicate to a big, broad audience and to be able to really highlight what's important to the immediate person in their life and what they can do in their life. So I try to put a lot of time in and be thoughtful when I'm putting these things together.
Obviously, examples are needed for such talks, and I think you've got a great example there. You got a great ecosystem out at Blue Spruce with the pond right there and a lot of natural woodland. So not only is it a great setting just to kind of, hey, relax and we're going to have this talk, but you could probably use it as examples.
Absolutely. It's always great to have a natural classroom. And so going out to Blue Spruce and being able to do the talk is really fantastic. Even the name of the park, the warmer temperatures in winter have been threatening blue spruces. And so it really gives us a place to start the conversation and think about how this impacts us locally, not just this big global picture.
The big topic you want people to come away with from this, what would you like that to be?
I would say it's sort of a two-pronged thing. One is that there are activities that people can do to address climate change, and that it is absolutely possible to solve the problem. This isn't some dire thing that we're doomed with. We can take actions and move forward.
All right, so it's not doomsday yet. It's ticking closer, but we still have time.
That's right. It's not doomsday yet, and the sooner we act and the more we do, there's always time to prevent further change, and that's really what this is about.
All right, excellent. We're on Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank, and we're talking with Dr. John Warnock, Allison Smith, and Bob Lankert from the Evergreen Conservancy. Dr. Warnock is going to present a climate change talk at Blue Spruce Lodge on April 26th. We'll get to the details on that, when and where. But let's talk with some of the other members. So, Allison, did you get a chance to help Dr. Warnock with his studies at all on this, or are you going to help out with the talk at all?
I will be present at the talk and, with Evergreen Conservancy and getting kids involved.
Oh, getting the kids involved in this.
Community involved.
All right. So how important is this message for the kids?
I think pretty important because it all starts, I think, in the classroom and what they know and how to educate them so that they're growing up knowing things and what they can do throughout their life to help with this matter.
And I'll turn it over to Bob now. Bob, it's got to be great to have somebody like a Dr. Warnock to be able to come by and to give these talks, these very educated talks about some very serious environmental matters.
Yes, that's the goal of Evergreen Conservancy since we started to prevent something that the average person walking up Philadelphia Street can learn what's going on in nature and environmental concerns, and we've been able to have all sorts of interesting programs.
All right. Now let's get to the nitty-gritties for this talk on the 26th. Is that right?
That's right. Friday the 26th.
And what time is it starting?
Golly, I'm pretty sure that's 7.
7 o'clock?
Yep, 7 o'clock.
So doors open about a half hour earlier then?
Yeah, come in, get a seat, have a chat.
And Bob, if anybody has any questions, maybe they want to join the Conservancy or volunteer with them, like Allison is doing with her AmeriCorps. But if anybody wants to volunteer, how can they get a hold of the Conservancy?
Since I'm a board member, they can call me at 724-463-8138.
463-8138?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Well, Dr. Warnock, Allison, Bob, thank you all very much for being a part of Indiana in the Morning this morning. I hope that you get a lot of people coming over because this is a topic that is, as I said, a hot button issue, and a lot of people are going to talk about it for years to come, I think. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.